At this time, folks, I would like to call to order the Custer County Board of County Commissioners, Friday, September the 29th, 2017. Mr. Hood, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Did you say Mr. or
Allegiance to
Mrs.?
the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I do appreciate you all standing on our knee. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Katnick,
Here.
Commissioner Hood,
Present.
Commissioner Prince,
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith,
Present.
and Clerk to the Board Kelly Cantor present.
Do we have any amendments to the agenda as published?
Do you want to ask?
You do?
Do not.
I don't know if that has to be an amendment or not.
Just so he's aware of it.
Yeah. I may have to leave, and so we were wondering about moving me up my agenda.
Sure,
on
we
that.
do that. Do we need to take any action as a result of our workshop?
It wasn't a workshop, it was just a...
Report, whatever, but do we need to take any actions to move forward on it at this time?
Well, I was just going to mention it in my report. I don't know that there's any action. We can just get a report.
Do you have anything else on the agenda?
No agenda amendments from me.
Okay, I don't either, so the agenda will stand as published. Do we have some minutes for approval?
No.
All right. Audience introduction.
Tim Stadola. Ralph Hood.
Mr. Park.
John Johnston.
All right. Thank you all for being here this morning. Public comment. Tim.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to let you know that I support you, and there's a lot of other people in this community that support you as well. But I just wanted to bring to your attention and to the community here through the audio recording that yesterday I received a letter which is indicative of the backhanded tactics of some of these recall proponents. It was addressed to me personally. No return address on the envelope. And it's not so much the content of the letter, it just espoused, the same lies that they brought up before, but accused me of being a newcomer. Well, I've had property here since 1983. We built our house in 2004. And I can attest that I've been here a lot longer than a lot of the people that signed those petitions, because I've seen the names on the petitions. But he goes on to address the same old stuff, but then goes on to basically attack my wife because she works for Ms. Hood at the range. Has nothing to do with politics. It's a job. But he goes on through this, whoever this person is, and goes on to say that, because of, people like me who are new to the community, and that we're socialists and communists, and that we want to change the way of life out here. I can respect somebody's difference of opinion with me. We can sit down and talk. But it's this cowardly stuff here.
Would you mind reading it for us so it's on record?
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Stadola, you have come to the community supporting issues that were not in this county when you arrived, such as building codes. How about you move to where building codes are enforced and not support what has been voted down in this community numerous times? They will most certainly have an impact on this county for both current homeowners and future homeowners. You're also blinded by perhaps the dollar signs, aspect of one of the commissioners, and the fact that this county was never as divided as after the current three got into office, and have, sad to say, out and out lied about numerous issues. Not been transparent, had more executive sessions than ever before in our county, came in with an agenda or several agendas. You should do your homework more thoroughly, sir. Obviously, this guy is somebody that should have got more homework in grammar school because his punctuation is atrocious. They have most certainly divided the county by their own hands and shenanigans. Yes, the BOC most certainly did fire Robin. The real reason was because Robin wasn't going to let Donna boss her around about the 4-H funds that Donna, the Fair Board, and the Saddle Club had no right to, and that's the real truth. Did you not read the letter both papers published from the BOCC to CSU Extension? By the way, Mr. Katnick stated in a recorded meeting that they only had one complaint, and that, Mr. Stodola, was from several years ago. I put the punctuation in there because he forgot. So no, sir, your facts and the people you are getting them from are filling you with misinformation. You should seek out the real insiders, not anyone from the BOCC. The last BOCC and the raises. Again, do your homework, sir. Again, punctuation is atrocious. You are totally incorrect with the process, and if you had the knowledge, you would realize that their increases were mandatory from the state. By the way, the former BOCC has kept this community the way the majority has wanted it. Well, obviously, if the majority wanted it that way, you guys wouldn't be sitting here. And if they investigate the internet and cellular improvements, once again, you, sir, must dig deeper to get the truth than what you are being spoon-fed by those who have caused this division. They were much more about protecting our community and our county budget than this group of renegades. But I don't see how a $150,000 lawsuit and an $830,000 debacle down in Wetmore is protecting my tax money. Let's see, where was I? Again, you really should do, once again he's saying that you really should do more homework before you put out misinformation. It just shows how much you don't really know and do not understand. Again, your wife working for Ms. Hood will see after your wife is burned by her, like so many others who have worked for her over the years. It will be just a matter of time before the green dollar signs are removed from her and your eyes to see her true color. You have been warned. Again, it just runs on. Economic development. Let's see. Once again, you are fairly new to this community. Again, we've been here quite a while. And as a newbie, you may or may not have found that most do not want large development here, which I also don't want large development, but we need services and whatnot here. For your information, when Ms. Hood started the economic development with her cronies, obviously he doesn't know that you didn't start economic development, she invested much as they did, and they said their plan was to get tax increase for all businesses to collect from the tourists, talk about sneaky and drawing tourists. The way that runs on, I can't understand it. Truth is, before all the city people started coming to this community, folks got along just fine despite their differences. Not so now. You come from larger communities and want every home to be the color you like, the lights the way you like, which our skies are plenty dark, thank you. Our neighbors to have what you want them to have on their property, their buildings built to your specifications, their animals to be the ones you want nearby your home. You, sir, and your kind want to control others and how they live. You want and welcome an anti-American fascist way of life that is called socialism, communism. That is what is dividing our way of life, and these three commissioners are right here with you, and you are with them, no matter. Either way, yes, sir, they are dividing our community. If you or others don't like this community as is, then you can move. This is a nice thought for the rest of us who don't want government telling us how to live. We just want to live in peace. Well, what this individual, as you can see, there's no signature. Mm-hmm. The coward did not want to sign it. I can respect anybody who has a different opinion with me and wants to talk to me face to face. But these are the kind of tactics that got petitions signed by people that have no clue what they're signing. So I just want them to also know on the record that I do like it here, as do many of us. And it's people like this we can do without. Thank you.
May I see that? Just
sure.
Please.
And as you can see, there's also no return address on the envelope.
There's no date.
There's no date. It came in the mail yesterday.
And here's the date.
And this was posted in Westcliff on September the 27th, 2017. Okay. I just wanted to...
Okay. I mean, you're welcome to have it if you want.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
I just wanted to publicly verify it.
Thank you, Tim.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question, if anybody that brings letters that they've gotten, whether they're pro or con recall, will be allowed to read them, is that correct?
Well, you already done it when we were over in San Isabel, when you read this.
No. I'm just asking if that's gonna be
It's got to be up to her, too.
I need to make a comment.
yes.
So once ballots are mailed out, which they have been as of last Friday, I have signs on the doors that say no electioneering within 100 feet of the courthouse. So I think from this point on, we need to not,
Not have political discussions,
no.
unless we have it more than 25 feet from the front door.
100,
100 feet from the front door.
100 feet across the street.
So which ballots went out?
The Uokava, the military and the overseas.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else want to say something? John, you're off quiet.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Chairman, I'd like to say something. There has been information spread out from the Sentinel and their recall group that I have either resigned as a commissioner or I'm about to resign as a commissioner. This is a lie. It is false. They can't find any dirt on me, so they have to put out new lies. I plan on being your commissioner until 2020. And I'm sorry, Ms. Kelly, that this is beyond what you're thinking, but I want you to know that this is a lie I will not stand for, and there may be legal consequences if this lie continues to be perpetrated.
Okay, I asked, you have anything you want to say?
No, not at
Okay,
this.
from this point forward, folks, I do request that we not get into political discussions because it is the law that we can't do campaigning within 100 feet. Yeah, unless it's a normal course of business or something, but other than that, you're shaking your head, Mike. I said that the right way? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I got one, Bob.
Sure.
This isn't political, it's just interesting. It's an article that, it's from the Associated Press. Idaho aims high for dark sky designation. It's an article about some towns, specifically Ketchum, Sun Valley, Stanley, tourist areas already, where they're trying to become the first dark sky reserve in the United States. I'm speaking, by the way, as Vice President of our local Dark Skies organization, not as the county attorney here. I want to make that clear, because this is what our organization has been trying to do to become the first dark sky reserve. Now we're in competition with this area in Idaho, but it's interesting. They're talking about how they recognize that having dark skies can boost home values and draw tourists. And they have recognized, with what they have already up there, they've recognized an increase in astrotourism is the name of the astrotourism and ecotourism. Ecological tourism are the kinds of tourism that we're trying to draw here in the Wet Mountain Valley in Custer County. Just talks though about how the town of Ketchum, for instance, and actually some of these others that I just mentioned, have approved dark sky ordinances requiring residents to install shields on exterior light fixtures to block lights from going upward. They've even gone so far as mandating that holiday lighting by businesses and residents be turned off at a certain time at night. And they recognize that this could lift property values even more in an area that's already very pricey up in that area of Ski Resort City, and mentioned some other communities that have dark sky ordinances. And I just wanted to reiterate that what our organization is recommending to this board is not an actual standalone ordinance, but just a modification of the existing zoning resolution insofar as it regulates light pollution, which again I would state would be a very modest change to what we already have as far as our zoning regulations. I just thought this was interesting because we wanted to be the first, and hopefully we can still be the first. The deadline for getting applications in this year is November, and Jim Bradburn, our president, doesn't seem to think these towns are going to be able to get everything done by then. So maybe we can still get our application in first and get approved first. Not the end of the world if we don't, but I think the dark sky reserve would be the next logical step to our dark sky communities. This also talks about those communities, some of them going for what we already have here to be designated as international dark sky communities. Ketchum specifically is trying to do that, and Sun Valley is also thinking about doing it. So just wanted to mention that it's,
I'd like a copy of that if I may please at some point.
you can have that one. I've got another one.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Anything else in the audience? John?
Is dark sky still considered old business?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, right now it's with the planning commission. They're working on it. It was referred to them, so it's old business, but we're not doing anything on it until the planning commission does all of their work and has hearings and everything else on it.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think it's important, we maybe haven't made this entirely clear. Yes, we as a Board of Commissioners can jump in and make a change, but my attitude has been I prefer to work through the process. I think every citizen, whether I agree with them or disagree with them, has an opportunity to bring things forward. And in this case, and another case was when we had a gentleman that was not in favor of the shipping containers. I've got 2 shipping containers myself, so obviously I appreciate it. But at the same time, even though there's one person there, I feel he has the right, if he wants to go to planning and zoning and work through the system. And then it comes to us. Anything else? All right. Commissioner items. Commissioner Hood.
Okay. I have been to various meetings since our last public meeting, such as 911. The commissioners met with the sheriff, the undersheriff, and Mike back there with our underfunded courthouse committee. So we're moving along with that. We'll be addressing the remaining funds and how we're going to use those moving forward. Just want to report that CCOM is scheduled on October 10th for this courthouse building, so hopefully you'll see an improvement with regards to our broadband here. I was also in attendance to the Custer County Fair Board this past Tuesday, where Sarah was present. All things are going well there. I just want to make mention that Sarah is phasing out of her interim position since the fair is over and the suspension was lifted, which was the goal. She is around if Diana needs her upstairs. Beverly will be phasing out in October. The reason they're phasing out is because CSU is in the process of their committee. So she's mentioned that in the next 2 weeks that position will be posted, and then it will take 4 to 6 weeks after that. I am in the process of completing because I was elected by our group here to be the commissioner on that committee. I have to log in and look at the update, so I'll just keep you abreast of what's happening with that. Also want to mention that we did meet with Scott Tipton last week, and I'm sure you're going to want to expand on that. But I'd like to ask the two of you if you're looking to be going to the Action 22 meeting on the 6th, which we are members of, and I didn't know if you were all considering that, because you have to register. They're looking for registration.
I'm going. I've already registered, and I'm taking, as a guest, I'm taking Cindy Howard because she used to be on the Action 22 board.
Okay. All right.
And I think it's important that we do have a good
So
showing.
we have a showing? Okay.
Well, what we're talking about, folks, for those who may not remember, Action 20, excuse me for interrupting.
That's okay.
Action 22 is a lobbying group comprised of the 22 counties in south and eastern Colorado, including the San Luis Valley. And once a year, we have a meeting with our lawmakers. Tentatively scheduled on this meeting is Congressman Tipton will be there as a speaker. We've got a number of state legislators that are coming down. Governor Bill Ritter the former governor, and will be one of the speakers. We have the Pueblo Waterworks, water issues we talked about, economic development, resource development. So there's a number of things that are important in here. We also in the afternoon then move into topics such as healthcare, the opioid epidemic, healthcare bill, implementation of a couple of the laws, rural banking, and we did some committee work, have dinner. The keynote speaker will be Lieutenant Governor Donna Lynn, and she was the lady that was down and met with us, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago. Congressman Tipton. So I encourage if any of you are interested to go down, because I think it's important that we have a good showing. We had one last year up at the, help me out, but there's the center in Colorado Springs that they developed for veterans. It's a private partnership. Anyway, we had it up there last year and it was very well attended. We had the governor down. So it's important, I think, that we do have a turnout there that shows that we're interested. I would invite if any of you folks want to go. Also, it's non-political. It's issues. It's not Republicans, Democrats, Independents, or whatever. And we can get you the information. We'll get the information to Brenda back. Go ahead, Donna. Excuse me.
Can I comment on that if I may? I planned on going. I did not register because I was concerned about our budget for travel and conventions. We're pretty close to exceeding that for this year. So I held off actually registering at this point. So I was going to hope that maybe the two of you could give me some insight into that, how you felt.
I don't know that there's a cost to this, Jay.
$100.
$100?
Well, you can go for the day at one price, you can go for the dinner at another price, or you can go to both of them for $100.
Okay.
I was just concerned about the budget. I think it's absolutely important, and truly I'll just pay for it myself if I need to.
Well, I'm going to plan on going. I may not turn in travel.
Okay, I'll do the same.
That's what I do. I very seldom. My wife, this is budget website. Well, we had the budget hearings. Remember that? When was that? In July. So my wife gives me this morning because I paid for the lunch for a couple $100 and I wasn't going to do anything about it. Well, my wife's the bean counter, and she found it. And as I walked out the door, she handed it to me. But there won't be any mileage. We don't normally collect mileage when you go to an adjacent county. But again, it's just, we all have to do what we've got to do. I recognize that. Anything else, Tom?
I'm good.
Okay. Jay?
I've been to most of the meetings that Donna went to. I've also met with recycling. That was Thursday, I believe. Major concerns over there about losing our recycle bin over at, I think it's called High Peaks Fitness now. Is that the right name?
High altitude.
High altitude.
High altitude, thank you. We're working through them, and there's been some payment issues on how that works. It actually makes money for High Peaks, and it's a wonderful community service. So we're working just through some details, and everybody's cooperative. There's no issues here that I see coming up. I've had multiple conversations prior to this week with planning and zoning over a specific issue we have on a person who was in here not long ago needing to pay for a shed that may or may not be movable. So that's an issue we're looking at. The actual regulations to find out what are the zoning and planning regulations to make sure that we handle this appropriately. And if we need to amend it, zoning and planning will come to us and ask us to make an adjustment to the plan. I've met with our county nurse multiple times. She's not here. I don't want to blush, but she is just wonderful. I mean, her programs for the children, for non-smoking and everything else is just outstanding, and she just does this on her own. I'm not prompting her. She says, I got this and I'm doing this. I said, girl, go for it. So I've been real busy. as far as I'm concerned, things are going well. And that would be my report for this meeting.
Okay, a couple of things before I start on mine. I also checked the planning and zoning, and maybe you have also seen this, but Jackie told me that when we redid the planning and zonings, that regardless of whether it's movable or not movable, is over 100 square feet has to have a permit. Now, maybe Jackie was wrong, but that's what, when I asked her, she immediately referred to it.
I know that. We've discussed that, and we're trying to determine whether that is appropriate or not, and whether we need to make an adjustment to that or not. So I'm dealing with it. It's too much in the infancy now to really go into the details, in my opinion. So, but I'm aware of what you're saying.
So as a commissioner, you're taking that initiative and...
That is my area of responsibility. Yep.
No, I'm not being critical, I'm just saying that's...
Yes, I'm working on that with her, and the decision is we're going to go to the Planning and Zoning Committee also and say, what do you guys think? I don't mean to call them guys, but what does this committee think? Let them come back with their recommendation. I'll agree with, hopefully agree with what theirs is, and then we'll bring it here if there needs to be a change. If not, we'll just leave it the way it is and you won't hear anything.
Could you elaborate a little more on this recycling committee that you had?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, the recycling committee is Joni Liebman is the chair of that. They deal very closely with the school on the recycling issues down there. They had a senior group that collected all the paper on a weekly basis, and it was picked up and taken for recycling. The teacher this year has said she does not want the students to do that. Mr. Paler and the principal have said it's going to continue. They're still working on the efforts to make sure that the school continues its recycling program. They currently recycle paper and aluminum. They do an excellent job. If there's any sales for the aluminum, it goes back to the school's general fund. Really for the kids, if maybe there's a student who can't afford to do something, that money is used to help a student who may need help. As far as the county recycling, the plastic recycling is in 2 locations right now. One is at High Peaks.
High altitude.
High altitude. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Because
No offense.
I keep wanting to call it,
Yeah.
irregular. There's been the way it's been paid. The money would come through the recycling committee. They would do the billing. They would get the money. They would turn 100% over it to High Peaks. They felt that probably is just an extra step that doesn't need to be done, so High Peaks can do their billing directly. Question came in, the recycling committee actually owns the little building that they put the plastic in, so I was working with them to make sure that whatever we do, we just put somewhere in the notes for both organizations that that building is owned by the recycling committee, just so if there's personnel changes down the road, the ownership of that building does not get lost in the translation. Just good business for the future. It's all cooperative. Everybody's happy. There's no issues here other than I'm working it through with them. So that's what's going on with recycling at the moment.
Okay. Unfortunately, you were not at the workshop that we had with COG, which oversees recycling in our 5 counties. In that meeting, we talked about all these issues. Mrs. Lieberman was at that meeting. They're talking about getting another trailer over here to move the stuff from the schools. And I see the reason I'm involved, recycling is a part of our efforts at the landfill.
Right, it's an
And we
overlap.
went through all of that. I wish you could have been there. I appreciate what you're bringing up, but we need to, I think, coordinate a little more. But I appreciate what you're doing. But the issue we talked about in quite a little detail, there was Mr. Lieberman was there, landfill was there, the recycling coordinator was there for the county. I was there, the lady from COG was there, and we had a good discussion. But the recycling folks, where we are on a county basis, not on this basis, we shipped 120 tons of cardboard last year, and this year we're going to exceed it. There's no money to be made from the recycling of plastic bags and so forth. But we're doing it as a service, and they take those about every two months or so for recycling. And we do, I think, have in terms of where we are in other counties and other areas, as a percentage, we're way above the state average on what we're recycling. And from the standpoint of expanding it, I think we're in pretty good shape. And yes, we talked about this, and the money's still going back to the schools, but it does help recycle paper and so forth. So we had a good recycling task force meeting. Anything else, sir?
Nope.
Okay, a couple of things we already mentioned, the 911 meeting and the meeting with the architects. I would like to maybe expand just a little bit on Congressman Tipton's visit. This was not something we initiated. He called us and said, I want to meet with you. I want to look at some things in the county. Being as it come from the congressman, it was his meeting, it wasn't our meeting. I met him in Wetmore at 8:30 in the morning, the congressman and his aide. It's kind of interesting. Congressman Bennett has an aide by the last name of McCain. And Senator Gardner has an aide with the last name of Bennett. But anyway, we toured the fire down there, looked at the flood damage, come up here. We met with the congressman until about 11:15. And I'll go back just a second. And then he had to go down to the library. He was donating some books from the Library of Congress to our library. And then we met for lunch, and we spent until about 1:30 with him, I think. The highlights, at least I consider them highlights of the meeting. We've not got a lot of response yet from Senator Gardner's office, so Congressman Tipton's office is taking over the lead. They gathered up some information. They had a conference call the first part of the week with Gardner's office, and I don't remember who else was on there. But they are. The congressman's a little concerned because they wrote letters asking these folks to respond to us, and they haven't got any answers back to the letters. So it's moving up the ladder a fair amount. The second issue we had, I think, was with the AT&T and our wireless. He was aware of the people that weren't getting service, aware of the people that were out of service. Some of the folks from Wetmore have also written to him, and that's still in the burner. That is something that we feel has to be fixed. And I'm sorry that the road's washed out on South Harscrabble, but I don't consider it the county's responsibility that we build a road so that the phone company can maintain their phone. They can certainly bring in a Caterpillar themselves, we'll give them permission, and they can get to their lines. We also have some other lines that have been washed out and exposed. What else, guys? We talked about mitigation.
Yep. We also talked about his help with us in grants, that they have a grant writer as part of their staff in Pueblo, and that we've got their ear and they're here to help us with whatever issues we have.
The mitigation is something that we're very concerned about, and his attitude was that Forest Service is spending 55%, I think, of their budget fighting fires instead of taking care of the forests. And we asked him to make us a poster child, if he could, for mitigation. We've got some stuff going. We've got about a $330,000 grant that we're working on for mitigation along the Front Range. That's come through Cindy Howard and some other folks' efforts. That's in place. And he's concerned that we get down and we get some more support from the state level and from the national level for local mitigation issues. He was very aware of the fire over at South Fork and all the issues that encountered, the difference in fire behavior and everything that's happened 2 or 3 years ago, and is a very strong proponent of mitigation. So I think that was a good move. There were some other items we talked about. I'm trying to think what they were.
codes?
Pardon me?
We discussed building codes.
Yeah, Commissioner Prince asked him about building codes, and he gave us a personal response, but of course building codes isn't a national issue, so.
And he was strongly in favor of it.
As an individual. There's one other thing, I can't think what it was, we thought was kind of important.
Well, we were talking about broadband and internet and infrastructure.
Right.
911 spent a lot of our time because we were concerned about the emergency services. It was a very good, very broad, very good meeting.
But the general sense I had when we got through was that he listened to us. He asked questions that we were, about issues that we were concerned with. And as Donna said, has made some pledges to us and offered some help for grants. And have I forgotten anything that you can think of?
No, I was happy to see that he was willing to spend the time that he did with us.
And for those of you that aren't familiar with Congressman Tipton, he does live over Cortez, has a small acreage between Cortez and Dove Creek, I think. But, yes, sir.
The $300,000+ grant for mitigation, how will that be used?
How is it being used?
Well, is that through OEM? How is
This
that
is
gonna be-
this is through OEM and the Forest Service is working with it. The funds are primarily from the Natural Resource and Conservation Service. And they have a mitigation plan starting over here, I don't know, over around Alvarado someplace, I think. And then they go down past Brush Creek Estates. It's going to be a longer period, but we're trying to focus and get some anchor points and a defensive barrier along the range. And we do have the funding now, and we'll be moving forward as it's a collective effort between different agencies. I think there's one other thing I wanted to mention. I can't think what it was. Oh, no, I talked about it. I guess that's it. If I think of it, I'll add it a little bit later. Also went to the 911 meeting with the architect. But it's, I wish we would have had more there, but there were some of you there at the meeting. You can see what we were talking about was, are we going to remodel this building on the end for the court service? We're going to build a new courthouse. We're going to build a new jail. Is there going to be a new justice center combining the two? And at this point in time, we don't know, but the general consensus I think that we're seeing is that for something for 25 years, at this point in time, that if we put up another structure, it probably makes more sense. Because what we have now is going to be hard to remodel to meet the needs for 25 years. At this point in time, we're just in the preliminary stages of it, and it's entirely a public process. Okay. Mr. Attorney.
I don't have any attorney items today.
Okay. Do we have any reason for an executive session?
No.
We will then move into old and new business. I want to rearrange the schedule. Our clerk has got some other things she needs to attend to, so I'm going to move that up to the first item. And the floor is yours, Kelly.
You're in November. What dates are those? The 7th and 8th? You've got 2 meetings, the 7th and 8th. In the past, you've never done a commissioners meeting on election day because of the congestion and everything. So you may want to move that.
I guess my suggestion, unless if my colleagues agree, would be to have one on, let's see, we're Tuesday and Wednesday, elections on Tuesday. We'll move our meetings to Wednesday and Thursday.
I cannot do Thursday. Any chance we could do Monday, Wednesday?
Monday will be pretty congested out here too. That's the only you just have a lot of stuff going on in the hallway right here with people coming in and voting.
Well,
Um,
I guess my concern, I'd like to know what the process is, Kelly, with election. How does that work? If we were to be recalled, how does the next day work as an order of business?
If you were to be whoever were the successor people, it does not become final until I have certified the election, which does not happen until the 16th.
November 16th.
What's your thoughts?
I have a couple of thoughts on this. We previously had, instead of having 2 meetings one day after the other, we agreed that the one day we would just be a very long day and do it all in one day. I would be fine with that. I also feel that pending a recall, I think it would be in the best interests of our constituency not to make any major decisions until after Kelly certifies the election. Because I don't want to, if there are new commissioners here, I don't think it's really fair for us to strap them with something on the same day or the day after voting. I would prefer to put off any major decisions until we know what the new, if there is a new group of commissioners that are going to be here.
What if you went
What if we
3
did-
days in a row the week before?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm fine with that. November 1st and 2nd. We have one
We
on.
have.
We have October 31st. We could do November 1st and 2nd is open for me if that works for you folks.
Donna?
I just have, if it can go, we've got a 911, I've got a 911 authority board meeting,
But that's 3:30.
the 3:30, so I can do, we would have the last day as the 31st. Jay, even if, I mean, it's up to us, if you wanted to have one long day, we could do one long day. Yeah.
I'm at your will. Any of those are going to work for me. The 1st and the 2nd are available all day. The 8th works for me. You know, what works for you would be fine with me.
Well, I appreciate, Jay, what you're saying about major decisions, but these are when we do have county departmental reports, and those, I think, need to be addressed in a timely manner. If we're agreeable, I'll make a motion that we move the meeting dates of our November meetings from the November 7th and 8th to November 1st and
Second.
2nd.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. If any of you have been around here on election day, and even 3 or 4 days before that, it gets pretty busy. People are out here in the hallway, a lot of noise, and a lot of activity. They come in, we look where we have here, we have one door for them to go through. We don't have a big waiting area in there for them. They go through single file, basically. So I think it's prudent that we do it this way.
Yeah, I think so too, and I should have caught that in January, but I just didn't even think about it.
Okay, can I just ask if we could look at the November 15th date then, with what you're saying? If you're not certifying until the 16th?
Oh.
Okay, can we look at November 22nd? Or not,
You may move the 15th to the
to
22nd?
the 22nd?
I don't have a problem with that. Or Friday the 17th.
I think that's, I'm comfortable with that.
Going on the 22nd?
Is that the date for
We'll know the
Thanksgiving?
results. You just will not have certified
Yeah,
by
do
then.
you
Is
not
that
wanna do
correct?
that, or-
I'm off that week, so, but it doesn't matter to me. I just, that's up to you guys.
What should we do? Is there a reason not to do the 15th? A good reason not to?
I may not be here, but I can always call in.
Yeah, and then that'll be in what,
No, not November. We don't do Wetmore in November.
It's up here then.
It's here, yep.
Are you available on the 22nd?
Possibly.
How about, are you available on the 17th? What?
Well,
If we move
if
that
I'm
date.
not, well, it's the 16th that she certifies. So my question was, did you want to have one on the 15th or after the 16th?
If it's just committee reports, I mean, that's fine. I don't have an issue there. I just don't want to make any major decisions until there's something done.
I think we look at this, at what makes sense. If we are recalled, I think my position on this is that I will work very closely with whoever is elected to help them transition. And we'll know on the 16th, and then we are meeting on the 22nd. We won't have, it'll be their meeting, not our meeting. But that gives us some time after the election to make it a smooth transition if it needs to occur. If it doesn't occur, you haven't certified them yet at that point on the 15th, but we pretty well, unless it's within very few votes, you normally don't have a lot of change, do you, when you certify them?
No.
Okay, 22nd. You said you are here, yeah.
If I'm not, I will call in.
That work for you then, Jay?
22nd. So just to make sure I'm with you, we'll move the 15th to the 22nd. And then if there's a new board, they can do whatever they feel, if they want to change it or not. That makes sense? Okay, I'm good with that. I'll move that we move our BOCC meeting on November 15th to November 22nd.
I'll second that. Any discussion? I'll vote on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
So just to reiterate for the record, November is going to be November 1st and 2nd, 22nd, and 30th, pending election changes. Okay.
Well, irregardless, the 30th will occur because that's when they sign the vouchers. So that meeting will continue. So, all right. Anything else we want to, for you have for us?
Nope, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
I would like to then move back up to the county health insurance renewal.
No.
Can we get Chris Barr, the marijuana grant first?
Sure.
So he can move on with his day?
5 minutes.
I better find it again. Hang on a second.
Welcome.
Hi, Bob.
Sarah, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
So this is not what you would call your typical grant. It's more of a reimbursement for marijuana. It's a DOLA grant. It's no matching funds. I sent it to you guys a couple days ago. Basically trying to get reimbursement for man hours. It's specifically towards rural counties. That meet that by definition, and we did. To get reimbursement for 3 successful marijuana grows that we had in 2016, 2 residents and 1 National Forest Service eradication. And we also purchased Connex during that 2016 that we're storing marijuana evidence in, and so I'm trying to get that reimbursed as well. So it came to 48.33 and some change. Don't know if we'll get it. It's the grant itself is $6 million, but it's for the whole state, and so there's agencies doing a lot in marijuana. Of course, we're doing pretty significant. I can't count anything that we've done this year.
I was going to say.
This year's been a little steep.
It's a year after that
Yeah,
you put in your
yeah,
request?
yeah. So 2017, hopefully we'll get some reimbursement there. Some pretty large grows. I'm sure you saw
Yes.
the 19,600 or some plants we took.
So if you need money, why don't you just sell all the marijuana? For the record, that was a tad of humor.
I understand. So really, there's no place for the county commissioners to sign this grant. It's already been submitted. I just had to present it so you're aware of it. Again, it's no matching funds. It's simply asking they reimburse us for some costs.
I commend you
Do-
on
do you want-
doing it.
Thank
Do you want us to have action, no endorsing it?
Well, the grant required is that I pick a date that I present to you guys.
Yeah, but I'm saying, would it do any good on your grant if you have an endorsement from the Board of County Commissioners?
It doesn't say that, Bob, so I'm not really sure. I mean, it can't ever hurt.
I make a motion that we write a letter supporting the Sheriff's Department initiative for a DOLA grant for reimbursement of marijuana expenses.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Thank you for a good job.
If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we want to, you want to draft something? And maybe you guys can authorize me to sign it
Sure,
as chairman of the board?
sure.
It may not help, but it won't hurt.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
All right, thank you.
You mentioned real quickly, how many busts have we had for marijuana in the county since the first of the year?
Since 2017, I want to say 4. Yeah, I think it's 4. The one last week was 3 grows, but we did it in 2 days, and it was in San Isabel, close to San Isabel, off of 78. Very large grows. National Forest Service did it with Homeland Security and Immigration, and so that was the 19,400 plants, I think. It's just unfathomable. And the one on Thursday was very, very bad terrain. It took them about 2.5, 3 hours to hike into it, and it was only a mile off the road.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty bad terrain. But it's terrible what they're doing to our national
So you
forest.
had 2 on Wednesday and 1 on Thursday.
Yeah, well, the 2 on Wednesday were side by side. They were within 100 yards of each
Yeah,
other.
no, but I mean, because I was,
Right.
part of these I understand were disposed of by burial, and the rest of them were hauled out and disposed of.
Right. Yeah. Some were eradicated on Wednesday in place because there were some arrests made on Wednesday. They have to maintain a certain percentage of the plants for evidence of the U.S. Forest Service. And then on Thursday, we didn't make any arrests, so the plants were eradicated by burial. And Ribbon Bridge was actually big help to that from Wetmore. They had a front end loader and a backhoe up there, and we
But
buried
if
it.
you destroy them, just not bury them, is there a possibility that they can go and dig them up?
What I'm told is once they're cut from the stem, once they're cut off the plant, within a couple hours they die. And so burying them just turns into mush. There's no way they could dig them up and reuse them or anything. We actually got lucky on the Thursday grant, or on the Thursday bust. They had about 250 pounds of finished product bagged in plastic bags of about 2-3 pounds a piece. They were ready to go. They were going to be shipped out.
What's the value of something like that?
The total for Wednesday and Thursday was about 15 million street value. Yeah.
Local people arrested or?
They're not local. They're illegal immigrants. They made 2 arrests. They're all either Mexican nationals, Cuban nationals. The guy that we found walking on Saturday was from Guatemala.
Wow.
So they're all illegals in the country illegally.
Congratulations on that.
And probably your street estimate is low.
It might
I
be.
looked, just out of curiosity, going on the web and looking so forth, they range all the way from $1,000 a plant up to as high as $3,000.
Yeah, it depends on the quality of the marijuana, I guess. I don't know
But
a
it's-
lot about it, but
That's what it is. Yeah, I don't either, but I was just looking at, so, and I know that value has come down in the last year. At least that's what it said on the internet. I don't know that personally.
I think the most disturbing thing to me is what they're doing to our forests. The trash, the pesticides in in the drinking water and the watersheds up there is horrific.
Can I change something just slightly? I know you're very well aware of the hemp grow across from the
Golf
golf
course?
course. and I'm asked about it all the time, and I tell them that you're well aware of it, that it's investigated, it's tested. Do you actually get copies of the test to show that it's not marijuana but hemp?
I don't think we do.
Okay. How do we know? How would the three of us, sir?
They have to provide that to the Department of Agricultural because it's actually a regulated crop, as if they were growing corn. So if they're growing sweet corn, they got to provide documentation that their product is sweet corn and not field corn for feed purposes. So it's all regulated through the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, so we would know if there's a problem. But my concern was the same thing said with the forest. Is there an issue with groundwater contamination?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine. I was just concerned. People ask me all the time. I tell them
Oh,
it's
I'm
highly
sure.
regulated. It's checked all the time. But I didn't know if you folks had a chance to know that.
You wouldn't have any more contamination possibilities than would with any other crop that you grow. If you were fertilize it, you're still going to get nitrates down the road. But just because it's a hemp plant from a long-term contamination point, it wouldn't necessarily. And I'm a whole lot more comfortable with this process than I am with what we're having in our national forests.
Absolutely.
Because some of the stuff we're using up there is pretty toxic.
Yep. Pretty bad.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you for
Thanks,
the
Bob.
good work.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Chris.
Tom.
Mike, thank you too.
Thank you.
Okay, having struck our place, does anybody else have something we need to move around on the agenda? All right, let's go to the county health insurance renewal.
No, we should be doing the vouchers so Donna can print the checks, the vouchers.
I know, but I haven't looked at them and initialed them yet. I'll have to wait until we get to them. But let's move on to the insurance renewal at this point.
You want me to
You
come
gotta
up
come up
there?
here and
or-
shake hands.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool. I hardly ever get to do that.
Well, it's nice to see you, young lady.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. Brenda.
You're not on this agenda.
Yes?
You're not on the agenda.
She is
Um,
under county health insurance.
We couldn't do the new agendas until the October ones because I had already sent them to the newspapers, so.
Thank you.
Okay, so I emailed you all a bunch of stuff yesterday, so I was wondering if you had any questions about that. And if you need a copy, I have another copy of the, okay.
I have reviewed it, and I want to thank you for going after what's now called Friday Health Plans for the third quote. And I'm going to say it's my recommendation after review that we move to CTSI for our new insurance coverage.
Jay, any thoughts?
I've been through this extensively. Thank you for sending it all. I read every word of everything in here. I recognize that it's hard to say 100% apples to apples because they're really not.
Right.
But there is no doubt in my mind CTSI, not only for the coverage they have, but for the additional benefits they provide to us. I concur with Commissioner Hood that CTSI is by far and away the way to go. That's my opinion.
How much savings is this going to result in roughly? 50,000?
Yeah, approximately.
That's what I.
Yeah, that's a rough approximation, yeah.
Of course, that'll all depend on how many people, family plans and so forth, but regardless, whichever insurance we have, it would be comparable. I will entertain a motion to select CCM.
I'll make that motion to select CTSI as our new insurance carrier.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You will.
Good.
I'll second that motion.
The moved and seconded to select CTSI as our insurance carrier for 2018. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Good job.
Well, that was easy.
Thank you for all your
Yes.
work, Brenda.
Well,
Why it
now
was
I can-
easy? It
I
was
can
easy
shake my
because
hand.
you gave us the information.
Hopefully that made it way easier.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the vouchers as presented to us.
I had asked Brenda to call Donna because I saw that there were charges from our audit services, Ross and Donardo, and I just wanted an explanation on seeing those in the general fund and also in Road and Bridge. So can you please explain what her response was?
Yeah, that is an annual audit that is state mandated. And that cost is split 3 ways between County General, Road and Bridge, and Human Services.
Okay, thank you. Then I have no further questions on the vouchers as presented.
I have one. I saw the pest and weed spraying, $5,000. I don't remember seeing that previously. Could we just, what is that? And who pays that? I mean, not who pays it, who does it, and who we paying?
That's in this year's budget under weed control.
And who we paying it to? Who did the weed spraying is what I'm trying to find out.
We've got a gentleman out of Canyon City that's licensed sprayer. Maybe we can get a copy of that invoice if we'd like, Jay.
No, it's not necessary. I just hadn't seen it before.
Well, no, because we just pay once a year.
Okay.
But that's what we spray on the county roads. We mow, but we also spray them.
Okay.
That was like $5,000.
That's
It was
$5,000. That was the only question I had,
That's-
because it was
that's
an
within the
anomaly
budget,
to
so-
me.
Yeah.
So, it's fine.
Good catch.
No problem.
Well, I have none, so at this time I will see if there's any more discussion. If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wait, I don't think there's a motion.
No motion.
There was no motion made.
I will make the motion that we approve the vouchers as submitted.
I'll second the motion.
Bob, you're
Any
on
more
now.
discussion? Well, we got into discussion before we had a motion on the floor.
We did. We went out of order.
So, all right, all in favor now, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And Brenda, these are ready to go to Donna.
Great.
Sure.
Looks to me like all we have left is the senior center.
Initial.
Well,
All right.
Do what you want.
That's all I'm showing too.
Did you initial?
But I don't
I
see.
think there's one I might have missed.
Did I? Oh, I missed one. I'm sorry.
Was John Stevens supposed to be here?
He was supposed to be here,
At
but,
what time?
no
well,
time
I thought he
specific.
said 9. I told him 9, so,
Okay.
I don't know if I have a phone number for him.
Well, in the past, they just present a report on what they've had for meals, what they want to try to improve, what they need, if they need something. It's a fairly straightforward report, and I don't believe it's extremely time sensitive. So
Can be tabled.
I would suggest that we just table it till the next meeting.
I concur with that.
Do we have anything else at this time to come before the board? Let the record state we've had a record meeting. At this time, I will declare the Board of County Commissioners adjourned, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.